Okay, for those of my friends who are interested in chess, I wanted to make this video, although I'm going to speak quietly because my little boy is trying to sleep in the other room. My name's Chris Tilling. I'm not a great chess player by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not an international master, grandmaster, or anything like that, but I'm someone who loves playing chess and learning chess. I don't have much time to play it these days, but although this chess webpage is getting me back into it. So I just wanted to draw your attention to what is on your screen, Chessable.com. It, for me, is the best chess webpage that I have ever come across. In fact, the best chess learning tool, full stop, that I've ever come across because of two things. Because of the two words that are key: active learning. This is a web page that actually facilitates learning in a quite unique way by deploying what they call, spaced repetition, or at least that's one way of describing it, so that you can memorize large swathes of, whether it be opening theory or tactical patterns or endgame positions, indefinitely, to memorize them indefinitely, and to do so through spaced repetition. If anybody's going to learn a language, let's say, you need to memorize a lot of vocabulary, and the only way you're going to learn vocabulary, of course, you can use things like mnemonic techniques and associations and things like that, but the only way it's going to stick in there and become usable is by repeating what you've learnt. And I remember looking at one of the old how to learn language books back in the day, and it was something like, you need to review what you've learned one day after, then 3 days after, then 2 weeks after, then a month after. I'm making this up, but it's something like this. Then half a year after, and then 2 years after, and after that you will have memorized whatever it is you've been learning indefinitely. And this web page has developed an algorithm to present you with material that you will then review. It will prompt you when you need to review this material. So you learn, but you're also learning because it's fun. You're actively learning, which is what makes it fun, and that releases dopamine, and all of that helps you to learn. But it's fun because you are active in the steps, and I'm going to show you what I mean by all of this in a moment. Through spaced repetition, you actively play out what you've learned. It's a tremendous amount of fun because of this. So it's an ideal way to learn opening theory, key endgame positions, and they've got resources on the webpage for this, and they're going to be putting more on there as well. Tactical motifs, they've just released a book, useful for those who are new when it comes to tactics. Anyway, why don't I just go and look at some examples on the webpage. So here we are. Here's the home webpage, and I will go to a scenario. I haven't looked much at this book, The Fighting Sicilian. All right, I just had to turn off my instant messenger there. Here we are. This is The Fighting Sicilian, a complete repertoire against 1e4. I just click here just to see who this is by an FIDE master, and he has actually some really great YouTube videos out there as well, and if you were to click on this YouTube video, you'd be able to find more of the same. But let's just browse this book. As I say, I've dipped into it and done nothing more than that. He gives you repertoire for everything, following 1e4 to c5. Everything following that. So miscellaneous second moves and the gambits and the Alapin variation and so on. But it's based on the Shvezhnikov variation, which is a really aggressive grab at space in the middle leads to double-edged positions. So a little bit of theory will go a long way there. And also a lot of fun, simply. But if I were just to click on the Sicilian gambits here, this will give you an idea of how it works. So I've already done a couple of these, but let's just say I'll just learn next. So it will take me into the next variation that I need to learn when looking at gambits in the Sicilian. Particularly, I think it's on the second move, this chapter. So learn next. So start learning. Oh, okay, this is unfortunate. This is a study variation, which will take you through an important variation that isn't a part of the repertoire. So it's still worthwhile seeing. Well, I'll skip that. Let's go to the next webpage, which is where you actively start to participate in the learning. So here we are. So to 1e4. It's the Sicilian repertoire, so c5. Okay. So this is the, I don't know, what do you call this, the wing gambit with b4. Well, the best way to refute a gambit is to accept it. So that's what he's suggesting. So you take, you see I'm having to move the pieces here. It's offering up the a3 pawn as well. I mean, this is a little bit like the Benko reversed. But here it's suggesting strike out in the middle. There's pros. If you look here on the side, this isn't just about memorizing for memorization's sake. Good chess teachers will say to beginners and intermediate players, there's no point in just memorizing things, because if you go out a book at any point, you're not going to get far. So theory can only take you so far. You also need to understand a position, and so this prose on the right, which is typical, although there's a little bit more, I think, than some, will tell you a little bit about how to understand the position. So anyway, it's strike out in the middle. Now I've got to do the same. Okay, this is clearly not enough for equal play, says the author. White loses the move, and black reaches a position where he is simply better. Okay, so I'm simply attacking the pawn that has been pushed, the e-pawn. Okay, near d4, so protecting that e5 pawn. Okay, there was pros again. I won't read through that now. This is just to show you. Developing the queen to a very active square. Okay, developing the whole queen side. Okay. Now what is it going to show me? Okay, I'm coming in with the bishop. Again, he's showing me the move, and then I've got to play it on the board myself. It's active learning. Okay, so he's asking me to drop the bishop back to keep that pin active. Okay. A very normal development now by white and black. An important move, h6. Black just needs to play h6 before castling to stop white sacrifices on h7. We're just going through this variation, and now this is the key. I'm supposed to have remembered that. Now it's testing whether I've actually learnt that or not. So this is me playing out the position. Okay, so there's the wing gambit. Now I'm not taking the extra pawn, striking out in the middle. Then I'm developing my queen side and the queen to that active square. This much I remember. Bishop's coming out here. And then I take back with the bishop here and drop it back to keep that pin active. Develop the knight, not really the only reasonable square. Now this was the key point, was not castle now, because that allows sacrifices. h7. And I drop the bishop back here. Okay, so I remembered it successfully. Tests me again. Active learning. So I accept the gambit. Partly. Let me just quickly whip through this. Okay, so you can see here I have successfully internalized this line. So if it is played against me, know what to do in that specific line. Okay, exit. That's enough to show what's going on. But now this is the thing. If I, come back to this tomorrow, I may remember that variation, but if I leave it another day, I probably won't. It won't stick in my long-term memory. So it prompts you to review what you've learned at regular intervals. And so I've completed this book. This is an absolutely fantastic book. It's an entire repertoire against d4 based on the Benko Gambit. It's written by Krzysztof Silecki, who's an international master. I highly recommend this book. He's also got one on a repertoire with white based on the English, I think, with G3, Knight F3, C4's kind of set up. He's also working on one on E4 repertoire. But anyway, this is his repertoire against D4. And now I've got to review here. You see 212 positions. So it'll take me anywhere in the book. That I should have learnt this stuff. Now it will test me on whether I've actually learnt it or not. And if I get things wrong, then it will prompt me again at some stage to go back over what I've relearnt. So let's just give it a go here. So start review. Okay, Trompovsky. Okay, right. So this is one of the key lines. I think I developed my queen here first. Yeah. Right. So thus far I've got it right. But now let me just make a move that will be wrong before we go too much further into this. Let's do a silly one. A5. Incorrect, it tells me. Now I've got to put in the right move, which it's prompting me now with. It's Knight F6. Okay, that should be enough. Let me just go through to the end of this line. Here we are. And as you're learning this, by the way, Krzysztof gives you information about what's going on and why these moves are being made. He's a little bit thinner on his explanation than others, but it's still enough. And the idea here is that eventually you can push on the queen side and so on at the end of the line. But here it's prompting me on what I did wrong. Remember, I moved with A5 instead of Knight to F6. So now I've got to make that move here 3 times. Collecting these points, that's all part of the learning procedure and how it all works on this webpage. And it will take me to the next lesson, or rather the next one to review. But that's enough. That will give us a taste of how this works. There's also, as I say, a new book that's just been released. Tactical Patterns, 1001 chess exercises for beginners, 100 endgames you must know. I'm really enjoying the endgame one in particular. I also ought to mention as well, in these positions, you can click on study mode, or you can actually go into the read-only mode, which will take you manually through the variation, and you also have the option of using, I think it's Stockfish 8, to analyze the positions. The main line, at least one main line. You can also copy and paste the FEN into whatever chess engine you've got. So, you can export this into other programs in order to analyze yourself. Or ideally, as Anna Rudolf would say, put it on an actual physical board for further study. So this is an important part and a resource on this web page as well. Okay, some final words then. Does this web page, is it only concerned with memorizing as opposed to understanding chess? Because if that were the case, then it wouldn't be that much use. I mean, maybe some use, but not enough. No, it's not. the books that I have worked through provide prose so that you understand the moves you are making. And of course, memorization and understanding are not mutually exclusive, but two sides of the same coin in many ways. And for me, this is second best to playing. You know, in terms of quality of learning and enjoyment. It's only one tool. You know, there are other ways of engaging chess, obviously by playing, but there are DVD resources out there, and the one I'm using at the moment is fantastic by Anna Rudolf and her method, the Anna Rudolf method, which you can find on iChess. That's a fantastic one, but there's others like that as well. But most importantly, I recommend this webpage simply because it's so much fun and I'm enjoying going through these repertoires and learning so much. I've never played the Benko, you see. I knew nothing about the Benko Gambit just a few weeks ago. But now I know quite a lot about the Benko and have even gotten a couple of books on the Benko to help me understand some of the themes and strategic structures to help me better understand it. Anyway, I wanted to draw your attention to Chessable.com, an absolutely fantastic learning webpage, highly recommended. Sign up and buy some of the books and enjoy learning chess.